You are watching Pucknology After Dark. Oh yeah! The final two, it's us and some other team with a triangular logo that's a fish holding a
Holding a
hockey
hockey
stick.
stick.
Welcome to Pucknology After Dark. Um, to say that we hope we were doing this show is an understatement. But nonetheless, we are about to have some fun. Welcome to the Stanley Cup final, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be a part of the show, join the conversation using the hashtag Technology After Dark. Follow us on Twitter using at PuckGuy14, at AJ_Strong,
Respect the underscore.
at iReadTechnology, at Eric Landy, at ChrisJBOS, at JAlexander46. You get the deal. You can also go on to the Google chat on youtube.com/Technology After Dark. That being said, let's say hello to the constituents right now. We'll first go with Gentry Alexander.
What's going on, guys? This is Dream right now, so let's get the show on the road. Let's get Monday going.
The guy who still has laundry. I don't know how he still has clothes that doesn't need to be washed. Eric Landy.
And the laundry is never ending.
Joining us from beautiful Canada, Ian Reed.
If you think the laundry is never ending, wait until you have children. Then it's really never ending.
Hey.
It's
And the
clearly never ending. It's clearly never ending. That kid never has pants on.
That's well true.
I
Can't make him wear pants. He doesn't want to.
And that wonderful voice is of AJ Strong.
Did you put an orange outline around the logo?
I was trying to make it match the logo on After Dark. That's all.
I don't care for that.
Not bad. I'll feel shame for a little bit. All right. So we have plenty to go over. We'll talk about a quick review of where the Sharks have done. Slayed their dragon in 5 games to Los Angeles. They took care of Nashville in 7 games, winning the series 4 games to 3. And in 6 games took down the St. Louis Blues, who looked like the team of destiny for the Stanley Cup in brilliant, dominant fashion. Guys, let me get your thoughts on the series as I start with Ian here. What did you take from the St. Louis series?
The St. Louis series, I think the things that I took from the St. Louis series is that the Sharks really they seem to have, for all the complaining, they seem to have a real depth advantage over a lot of top-tier teams this year. I feel like the third and fourth line have been very much key to what the Sharks have been able to do this year, being able to play the minutes so that you're not playing Thornton and Marlowe for 30 minutes a game or anything silly like that. And and then on the downside, Martin Jones is human. I took that from the St. Louis series too.
Andy?
I think I think that series really showed that Joe Thornton has reached new heights. I mean, I think Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, and Thomas Hertl all really stepped up to that game, and that top line is really motoring through the playoffs right now. But again, it also is balanced by a nice 3-line, actually even a 4-line attack. They can roll anybody at any time, and Pete DeBoer does not care about matchups. He'll play best on best. He'll play Tierney on best. It doesn't really matter.
Gentry?
I learned that I just learned that this team had that extra gear to slay their demons and take down what was supposed to be like it was St. Louis kept saying like this was their year, this was your year, and I learned that you can roll all 4 lines. If you have defensive depth and good goaltending, you can pretty much get away with anything you want. And also, it doesn't help to actually have a captain this year, so kudos to the Sharks.
And AJ.
Resolve. The fact that in the Nashville series, they got their asses kicked and responded. St. Louis, they got their asses kicked. They didn't fold their tents. They responded and proved that St. Louis, dude, I love your guys' slogan, the St. Louis Blues, your team of destiny since 1970. That's great, but no, it's our year. Just the resolve and the response has just been staggering and something you've never seen from the Sharks before.
Precisely, and I think one thing to add on to that is the perseverance, especially in the third period, to kind of go what you're saying, AJ, where this team would have a lead and they would sit on it and hope that they could, survive that either that 2-1 or 3-2 victory and make it through to the next game or the next round. Definitely saw more desire out of this team in late in the games. Definitely saw that they weren't just going to be sitting idly and just hang on. It was a nice change to have, and to have that hunger. And I kept saying this through all year. You stay hungry in the third. Their conditioning was a lot more crisp and everything. I think you're looking into a team that can be very special. As for individual players, I mean, we've talked about Martin Jones. Logan Couture has played a phenomenal series, I thought, AJ.
Absolutely, and I just can't say enough about this depth. The one thing that makes me nervous is that bottom pair of Polak and Dylan. Dylan, I think, has like the worst Corsi out of like every defenseman left. That's the one thing that if they can try to, if I'm the Penguins, that's what I'm looking to expose is that bottom pair, especially being that we get the that the Penguins get the matchup against the Sharks in the first 2 games at the console.
Ian, to go on top of what Couture has done, Jonas Donskoy has become a key figure in this postseason run. That line just seems like it's clicking a lot.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just to add something to just what AJ just said, though, the Penguins' bottom pair isn't very good either. It's Ian Cole and Justin Schultz.
Yeah. So, well, and with Trevor Daley out, it only gets worse.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I think Ian Cole drew in. Justin Schultz is terrible, so I don't know. I think it's kind of a wash. But yeah, going back to the question, Donskoy has been just that second line has been huge. I mean, Logan Couture obviously is racking up a lot of points, but he's obviously not doing that alone. Donskoy's been basically a fixture on the wing, and then it's been between basically Marleau. Has been kind of on the other one unless they shift him back down to the third line, which I wouldn't be shocked if they do that this series to try and because the Penguins have superstars on all 3 lines, so they might want to do that. Although, yeah, I'm gonna be nice to Marleau.
And Puck Guy is muted.
Mm-hmm.
Did he mute himself?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I muted myself to restrict myself from John Shorthouse. Yes, that's it. Gentry, so part of the other thing that we've always talked about throughout the series has been special teams. What do you think in regards to that going against Pittsburgh is the key? Is it more on the power play or more on the penalty kill?
I think it's going to have to be more on the penalty kill because that power play from Pittsburgh is just as lethal as the Sharks, and we all kind of know that the calls kind of tend to get favored more for Pittsburgh in most of the series. So I think the penalty kill needs to be on point, and I think Jones needs to be on top of his game for this series. Like this is where you need to find that eighth gear and put the pedal to the metal until until you get that fourth win.
I think just going off what Gentry just said, the Sharks need to make sure that they're not static, that they are moving their feet, because Pittsburgh is a really quick team and they can draw a lot of penalties with their speed. The Sharks have to be able to manage the puck well when they have it, and manage themselves away from the puck well. You can't be taking a lot of stick infractions against this team. You've got to be using your feet and try and limit the obstruction penalties, because that's how the Penguins draw their penalties, is with stick infractions or with obstruction penalties.
Yeah, and another thing is that their penalty kill is no slouch either. So Mike Sullivan, when he took over, he put the right guys in the right places, and their penalty kill has been pretty good. But it's the power play that can, change the momentum of a game. And they've got, superstars that can put the puck in the net. You've got your Crosbys and Malkins and your Kessels and your Letangs that, right then and there, like if you draw a penalty and you're looking at that lineup, you're kind of just looking there like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? I think the Sharks just need to be prepared and not intimidated by the star power. I think they just need to, play. They weren't intimidated by the Kings, and they don't have a lot of star power on that team. I think what they just need to do is just, play their game, and I know that they can do it against the Penguins.
I mean, I think just kind of going off of that, I mean, just in the Sharks' play against Pittsburgh in the last 4 or 5 years, it's always seemed like the Sharks have been able to neutralize Crosby and Malkin for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the size factor. I don't know if it's the depth factor. But I have always felt like the Sharks team has played well against this Pittsburgh team because they're not very physical, because they rely more on that finesse kind of game. And the Sharks just are like the kryptonite to that.
You mean like how Buffalo is kind of our kryptonite?
Yeah, well, and that's because Buffalo tends to outwork Sharks, whereas the Sharks have always tended to outwork Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been that one, and Gentry, you make a good point with Buffalo, that there's just something about Buffalo that gets to them. But they've played fairly well against the Penguins. The series was an even 1-1. Each team won in their opponent's building. But this, I've heard many people say this is a fairly even series, and it can go either way. Absolutely. I mean, one shake and it's a difference. But yeah, as we roll into this matchup, I'll start with AJ here. What scares you? What concerns you about the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I mean, it's the devil we know on the top lines when it comes to Crosby and Malkin and whatnot. The thing that scares me is Murray. We don't have much of a book on Murray. We know what Fleury is, but Murray, that's just the guy that you hope that you get him on the bad day. You hope that he doesn't, catch fire. And we've seen that happen several times with the Sharks. And when they're playing a goalie that they just don't know anything about, they make him look like a Vezina winner. Although, that changed a little bit during the St. Louis series when they saw Allen. So that's just to me, Murray is kind of like their X factor. If we get to him early, I think the Sharks could take this possibly in 5 if they can get to him early, because I don't think there's any confidence really with Marc-Andre Fleury at this point with the Pens. So if they can get Murray out of there and get into his head early, unfortunately he doesn't seem like he's a Jonathan Quick or Pekka Rinne tempered kind of guy. So
Darn
you just
it!
got to try to you just got to try to get into his head. He's not like Belfour or Turco, but yeah, if we can get to him early, I think that can put that fear into him.
Totally. I think if you can get on him early and often, I think it's a huge advantage for the Sharks. Gentry, I'll kind of ask this question then. Who does concern you on Pittsburgh?
I think it's mostly like their bottom three lines concern me because they were able to just start. You can have Nick Bonino on that second line with Hagelin and Kessel, and then your third line center for that team is Yevgeny Malkin, and then you have guys like Kuhnhackl and Russ that can play well, and it's just like all these minor league call-ups have just been coming in and just making an impact for this team. It's like Mike Sullivan knows these players, and he slotted them in lines that he knew that these players were going to have success with. And I think it's going to come down to a great matchup. And Russ, I mean, Game 7 hero for that guy. He was an unsung hero, and I think that's the kind of thing that scares me is that you tend to, if you overlook a line, that's the line that's going to cost you the most trouble. So can't look. You have to look at all of them with the stigma of danger to them.
Ian, kind of banking off what AJ and Gentry have said, these teams look very even. You have Malkin on a third line for crying out loud, but he can be on the power play. Similar to when Marlowe was on the third line, you have so much depth on this team. Again, not to belittle the point of it being that these guys are very even, but they're pretty even throughout their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it seems like every time someone says something, like I seem to like in my head, I have a counter in my head, right? Like it's like, yeah, well, it's like, yeah, Matt Murray's a very, very good goalie, but at the same time, I feel better about if you can force him out of the net and force him to Fleury in net, it's over. And I don't think you'll get that after how Fleury played. I think it's Murray's net all the way to the end of this thing. I don't think after the Tampa game that Fleury gets the net back, but if you can make them consider it, I think that's a huge thing. Whereas Jones, Jones has been good. He's been human, but he's been good, and I have a lot more faith in James Reimer than I do Marc-Andre Fleury. On defense, it's like I said, you got our bottom pair is kind of scary, and you don't want to let them get caught out there against the HBK line or Crosby's line. But at the same time, if you can Ian Cole and Justin Schultz sure as hell don't scare me either. Justin Schultz is a terrible defenseman, and Ian Cole is he's not a terrible defenseman, he's not good. I mean, he's never going to be that 18th overall pick that he is. I mean, he's 27 now. We've seen all we're going to see from him. So there's just, it seems like everything you can say like benefits each team, there's a counter, and it just seems like that's how even it is.
All right, we'll check on your son really quick because I think he's fine as well.
Oh, he's just got my glucometer. It's not a big deal.
Okay, I thought that was whiteout. That's all.
Nope, it's a glucometer. I'll go get it before he loses it on me though.
Landy, I know you're a co-president of the Chris Tierney fan club, and kind of going off of that depth perception, third and fourth lines of the Sharks. Can you think they can contain the likes of HBK, Crosby, Malkin, whoever they're going to be matched up, especially in the first two games since they're on the road?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll quickly just run down the bottom two lines for each team. Right now, this is from the Daily Faceoff, pretty good little website. But Melker Karlsson, Chris Tierney, and Joel Ward forms your third line. Dana Zuberis, Nick Spaulding, and Tommy Wingles forms your fourth line. If we go over to the Pittsburgh side of things, you got Chris Kunitz, Evgeny Malkin, Brian Rust as your third line, and your fourth line is Tom Kuhnhackl, Matt Cullen, and Eric Fair. I mean, your third and your second line for Pittsburgh, I mean, those are pretty interchangeable. I mean, so that Bonino, Hagelin, Kessel line could be what you consider your third line or whatever. But, right now, as it stands right now, they're Evgeny Malkin slot as your third line center. So, can Chris Tierney contain Evgeny Malkin and or Nick Bonino? I think I like the Tierney matchup versus Bonino a little bit more. Even though Phil Kessel's on that line, I like Joel Ward's physicality against Kessel, and I think Melker can keep up with Hagelin. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but I think that Melker has proved that he's a pretty good two-way forward and can contain the top superstars when they were playing against Laterra's line, St. Louis, and they were playing against Nashville's second line. So, I think that they're pretty proven. But it's going to be interesting because I think, like I said, Chris Tierney matches up well against Bonino. Chris Tierney versus Evgeny Malkin, it's going to be a little interesting because Malkin has got the size on Tierney, but Malkin also doesn't utilize his size very well. He's kind of like Marleau so far as we've always wanted Marleau to play with a little bit more edge because he is so big, but he just plays like a small player. Evgeny Malkin plays a similar kind of game. So I would give that one a little more edge to Malkin over Tierney, but I'd slot Tierney against the HBK line, to be quite honest. Fourth lines, you got Nick Smalling versus Matt Cullen, Zubris and Wingles versus Fair and Kuhnackel. I like our fourth line. I think I might like Matt Cullen a little bit more than I like Nick Smalling as a center. But the two wingers, I think, are stronger, in my opinion, versus the two wingers on that fourth line for Pittsburgh. So I think overall, I think the bottom six are pretty much a wash. Guys, where I really see this game coming down to is exposing that blue line. Because you've got Brian Dumoulin and Chris Letang as your number one pair. You've got Oli Mata and Ben Lovejoy as your second pair. And we all know Ben Lovejoy from his time in Anaheim. He's pretty slow. And then Ian Cole versus Justin Schultz. I mean, that's just as bad, might be even worse than Dylan and Pollock. I mean, Dylan and Pollock are slow, but at least they have physicality. Cole and Schultz, I mean, they're not physical. Schultz has got some offensive upside, but he's also can make some pretty bonehead moves in his own zone. So I think, if anything, if the Sharks' first and second line can really pound their defense, I think that's where the series is going to be won.
All right. And now, speaking of the third and fourth line and co-president as well, Ian Reed of the Chris Tierney fan club, Matt Nieto.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Nieto is apparently healthy, so I mean that's another thing that really can change the dynamic of the lines too. Is if Peter DeBoer decides to opt for Nieto over blank, I think that can change things up a lot too. So I mean, obviously, my guess would be if Nieto's coming in, Wingles is coming back out, and I don't have a problem with that at all.
Gotcha.
And I agree with Slushy. Dumoulin's very underrated. The thing is about the Penguins, though, if I can just kind of chime in on something for a second.
That's a perfect transition, so go ahead.
The way that they rushed, the way that they launched their rush, though, I feel like it's very easy to exploit. Like, they're very, very loosey-goosey in how they break out of their own zone, and I think that the Sharks can capitalize on that. And that's just the way that the East is played, in my opinion. I feel like they're a little more... East is a slower conference, in my opinion, and I feel like the breakout can be exploited by the Penguins.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring that up because I was hearing an interview with Sully, Mike Sullivan, and it's interesting because they had the special name for basically what's called a two forward or a two guy high system where they like to straddle two forwards on the blue line and don't really like to pinch them in their own defensive zone, and they like to do that so they can do that stretch pass out and really bite on the transition. The problem is the Sharks' forecheck, when it gets going, can be so intensive on those defensemen, and if you don't have your whole core trying to help out in the defensive zone, the Sharks take advantage of that. And don't let the puck go out onto the board so guys can stretch pass out. They just don't do that because they're very structured. So I think that if Pittsburgh plays their normal loosey-goosey style, the Sharks are going to feast on that.
Yeah, that's in my opinion where the Sharks really take the advantage. I think that's why when you look at all the predictions right now, which obviously scares the hell out of me that everyone's taking the Sharks, but I think that's
We'll
why I
get
think
to
it's a big
predictions a
advantage.
little later,
I
but
know, I
yes.
know. I'm just saying in general, like in the general media.
Mhm. Gotcha. All right, let's break this down through 3 rounds because this is the battle of the triangle logos with the fish in it holding a hockey stick in it. Both teams have played the same amount of games. They're both 12-6. They're pretty much even in goals per game. Power play percentage, it's a slight advantage to San Jose with their success that they've had so far this year. Penalty kill, still a little bit more of an advantage to Pittsburgh, but the shut. And the Sharks actually have a slight advantage in face-off wins. So again, it relies on the evenness of this all. AJ, what stands out once you see these numbers?
That face-off percentage number doesn't seem realistic. It's like, we know what the Sharks have been in the circle over the last 10 games, and it has not been good. So looking at that, it tells me that they really got over well on LA and really pumped up that number because I don't think it's. I think that's giving the Sharks a good 5, maybe 6 percentage points on that. The other thing too that's not listed here is goals given up. If I remember correctly, I think the Sharks have given up somewhere around the neighborhood of like 41, 42, somewhere in there, and Pittsburgh has only given up, I believe, 2 more than the Sharks. So, I mean, we are really seeing 2 very evenly matched teams going into this. But one thing I think also we need to take into consideration is that the Pittsburgh Penguins have not left their time zone since January 18th. I mean, that's almost 6 months of not having really, cross-country heavy travel, whereas the Sharks, they're used to that. That's the way that it's been since this franchise has been around. So I think that's really something that we need to take into consideration, that maybe Pittsburgh gets out to an early jump because it's in their barn. But boy, if they can get a split there,
They have to.
yeah, they need to get that split there. They get that split there, bring it back here. I think you could really take advantage of Pittsburgh in Game 3 and really work on that idea of they might get a little bit of a lag. Like I said, I mean, 6 months, and also take into consideration, Paul Martin, former Penguin. They're going to be bending his ear a little bit too. So
The tough part about Paul Martin is that he was under a different coaching staff with Mike Johnston, and you guys talk about Mike Sullivan. Mike Sullivan has some ties with the Sharks, as he was one of the original Sharks when they began playing.
but he's still going to be able to give you some tendencies, though.
Yeah,
Sure.
and I would also like to say that Paul Martin played under Dan Bylsma, and Dan Bylsma and Mike Sullivan's styles are very similar. I mean, this riding a forward high, I mean, this is not new to Pittsburgh. I mean, that's the way that Crosby likes to play. He doesn't like to play a structured game, and that's why their Johnston didn't last there. I feel like the depth of the Sharks on the blue line is where this is going to be won. I look at Pittsburgh's blue line, and it's like they've gotten it together and been able to hold off pretty good opponents, but I don't think that the Pittsburgh has seen an opponent quite like the Sharks. I think Tampa Bay was as close to a complete team in the East like Pittsburgh themselves. I mean, I think that's the biggest scare that they've had, and they took them to 7 games. So, I mean, I just think it's going to be won and lost on the blue line. And, you go into the advanced metrics, your Corsis and your Fenwicks and all that. These teams both like to possess the puck, so that face-off percentage is really going to be key. It's going to be who's going to start with the puck first and who's going to hold on to it.
So puck possession, special teams, and would you? And I don't mean to put the tinfoil hat on, but let's be real here. Um, you know, the Penguins are on NBC a lot. They get the notoriety. They have all the stars that do their thing. Sidney
See, I
Crosby's
think
still the poster boy, albeit he doesn't go All-Star games. Do the Sharks get maybe slighted a little bit in this early on?
no. The reason why I mean I understand what you're saying about Pittsburgh that NBC swings off their jock and they got all these superstars. Tell me that it wouldn't be exactly the same if the Sharks played in Pittsburgh and the Penguins played out here, because they'd be swinging off Thornton's jock and off Pavelski's jock and off Burns's and Vlasic's jocks. Yeah. It's based on its location.
Yeah,
that's a lot of it.
It's East Coast bias in full effect here. When it comes to penalties and drawing penalties in general, I think the most important thing for the Sharks is that they keep moving. That those obstruction penalties and those holds or
also known as latangs.
Latangs, exactly, or your not cross check, but your hooks. Gosh, can't think right. But those obstruction and stick penalties and stick violations are really how the Penguins are gonna draw their power plays, and the Sharks have to be really careful about that. They have to be really disciplined, and they have been.
Gotcha. I just think something tells me that it just could be teetered some way, and as we kind of get into our prediction portion of the program, I'm surprised a lot of people have picked San Jose to win this series, despite not having the visuality of every series per se, or every game out in the early season.
But I mean, I don't. It's interesting because I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that the Sharks have proven their mettle. I think they've really shed that choker or bad playoff performer kind of tag, and I think this is just the result of that. I think because they have played well, they're starting to gain the kudos that we've been giving Thornton and Malo for years. I don't see it as being some kind of jinx or some kind of hex or anything like that, but I think that it's just a product of how they've played.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the Sharks have finally earned some respect. They haven't been the quote like Chris has said to ban it, but they haven't been the same old Sharks, and they've played well out of their previous year's tendencies that they can play well. I'm just concerned that the bias towards the Penguins might be seen a little bit, and Gentry, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I mean it seems like they've calmed it down a bit, but they haven't oh my God, Sidney Crosby's the greatest player ever.
Well, no, that's why I said that the penalty kill was going to be an important thing for us, is because it's NBC, it's the Stanley Cup final, and if you want
but Crosby.
It's nothing but Crosby. So that's why you're going to sit there and look, and if they can find any way of making the Sharks shorthanded against Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Kessel, they're going to. So that's why I said that the penalty kill needed to be on point. But here's the thing that I really like is that Malkin, as skilled as he is, he's prone to taking dumb penalties himself.
Oh, and we know Letang as well. He's got a short fuse.
So if you get to both of those guys early on, let's say if you had Wingles drop a matchup with Malkin and you have Wingles playing his physical style, Malkin's not going to like that because he believes himself to be one of the most untouchable players ever. So he's going to take dumb penalties, and if you capitalize on that, and if you just keep getting under Malkin's and Letang's skin, this series will be done a lot quicker than most people are saying. I said, well, I'm not going to make my prediction right now, but I sit there and say that this, if there was ever a matchup where I felt like the Sharks had the advantage, it would be this one. Like, this is why I wanted the Penguins to advance.
Gotcha. All right. We're kind of going reverse of the rundown here, but I'll start with Ian on your one bold prediction of this series.
Like how many games, or just like something?
No,
that's
just
not
something
like
that happens in the series.
oh,
That's
something that's going to
knock
happen in
out.
the series. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
Pull something out of your rear that is just spectacular.
Yeah.
You see Marc-Andre Fleury.
Damn it, he took mine.
Ooh, well done,
Right.
sir. That was
All
that
right.
was some top shelf reaching in the rear end.
Top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. Well, Landy, since he took yours, what game do you think he gets to be seen?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say Game 3.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the Sharks. I mean, everybody's like, "Hey, let's get a split. Hey, let's get a split." It wouldn't surprise me if the Sharks come home with a 2-0 lead. I mean, I don't want to, be the guy that
Okay,
says.
well, what's your
there's
bold
your bold
prediction then?
Well, then
They
I
come-
think
they
you
come
just
back
said
with a
it,
2-0
up to
lead, or what?
Yeah, they come home with a 2-0 lead. It will be my bold prediction, and that Fleury is starting Game 3.
Starting Game 3. Got
Yeah.
it. All right. Gentry, your one bold prediction.
My one bold prediction, Crosby is going to be the worst. He's going to have the worst plus minus of his entire playoff career.
All right. Wow. Oh, this is great. This is why I brought this up first before we actually did our predictions. AJ?
Game 1, when the pens are coming out, you can see Crosby's string. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
You're talking about the fight strap, right?
Sure. So, for me, no, mine is Couture. Right now, Pavelski is the sexy pick for the Smythe. I'm gonna go out and say Couture makes that much more of a debate.
Got it. Mine is, as much as I would love to, it's not going to happen, so I won't say it. Mine is that one Shark gets a hat trick within the first 4 games of this series. So.
Please be Hurdle. Please be Hurdle. Please be Hurdle.
So that being said, guys, I don't think we have any rogue votes this time around. Chris JWS, who was supposed to be here, can't make it. He says Sharks in 6. I'm right there with him. I think the Sharks in 6 is probably the prediction I'm going to go with. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think the Sharks get the split on the road and they win all their home games. I'm sure that's probably what everybody else is saying. Nonetheless, I will start with my fellow Notchville, Gentry Alexander, as you predict the Stanley Cup final between the San Jose Sharks and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay, so I'd say that the Sharks are going to take it in 6. It's a safe bet because, as we all know, I'm dumb when it comes to predicting sweeps. But yeah, I say that the Sharks are going to take it in 6. I feel like the Penguins are going to put up a fight and steal like 1 or 2. But I don't know. But like, if I was going to put on my teal tinted, I would say the Sharks take it in 5. But I say I say the refs don't allow that, and neither does NBC. So 6.
To the Canadian robot, who predicted the Los Angeles Kings would win the first round series, Ian Reed.
Yeah, does he also want to point out that on my bracket, I picked the Penguins to win it all in my bracket too. No, look I got the Sharks in 6. I think that these teams are just too evenly matched for it to be a quick series, but I don't see it. I just feel like a blah blah blah, and 7 is basically saying I don't know, so I'm gonna go Sharks in 6.
Mr. Laundry.
Hey, I've been saying Sharks in 5 for this whole damn thing, so I'm going Sharks in 5.
Wow. All right. AJ?
Well, obviously the sexy pick, but it's just because this is the way that it needs to happen. It needs to be Sharks in 6 because the city needs to explode. The win needs to happen on home ice. I don't think that they're going to roll 4 in a row. As much as I would love to see that, I don't think they'll do roll 4 in a row. I think, just like Gentry pointed out, the powers that be will not allow that to happen. But Sharks in 6, that's the way that it needs to happen, because downtown San Jose, I've seen some shit in downtown San Jose on some of the Cinco de Mayos, and that's going to be Bush League shit when you see what I mean, we're not going Vancouver crazy, but you know what I'm saying.
Let's not go Vancouver crazy. Let's not go Vancouver crazy.
Keep it classy, San Jose. Keep it classy.
That's right. You stay classy, San Jose.
Sharks
I'm
and
Puck Guy 14?
You're asking us or telling us?
No. Don't you remember Anchorman?
Yeah, I know. Let it go.
All right, I know. All right.
Frozen.
All right, we are ready to take your questions. You can do it on Twitter using the hashtag Pucknology or if you're in the Google chat, just fire away.
We've got a few in the chat.
We got a quick one. Hockey Jerk going with the boldest prediction of all. Brendan Dillon gets a game-winning goal.
Funny you mentioned that, because we need to remind everybody that this could finally happen. This is a bet that's been in the works for about 7 years, and I will keep mentioning it until we get to that point. Gentry, who up until about a few years ago only wore the color black, until he finally got a teal Sharks jersey. As you can see, he's in a black shirt tonight.
Well, wearing teal shorts, but whatever.
Yeah, I know. But that time sucks. As I'm getting responded to from a direct message. He made a prediction because for some reason he can't stand Marc-Edouard Vlasic. He said if Marc-Edouard Vlasic were to score the cup-winning goal, I will buy a white Sharks Vlasic jersey with the cup patch on it and wear it for a home opener.
Wow, way to go out on a limb there, bro.
All I'm saying is, come on, Pickles, make it happen. Make it happen.
I feel like I should up it and be like, if Vlasic gets a hat trick in a Stanley Cup final game, then I'll get one. But we'll make it easier. We'll make it as easy as the taco minutes. I say that if Vlasic scores the most important goal in Sharks history, which is the Cup winner, yes, I will get a 44 Vlasic on the back with a Stanley Cup patch on it. But yeah.
4 in the net tacos you get?
Yeah.
Quick question coming in from Sleepy Mofo in the chat. If Nieto comes back, who sits, and would you start Nieto in Game 1? So I think we all said Wingles is probably the prime candidate to come out if Nieto does come back in. But do you think that he's starting Game 1?
I think Wingles is starting. I think Wingles starts. I don't think you upset the balance of what they have going right now. I don't get this Vlasic hatred either. I don't know what Gentry's problem is. I mean, the guy single-handedly, shut down Toffoli, shut down Forsberg, shut down Tarasenko. But no, Gentry don't care for him, so I'm going to go get his white jersey and Crimea River. You really want to up that bet? Get a white jersey that says 44 and make the nameplate say, I hate pickles, and then we got to bet.
You know what? At this point, I feel like I should just get a white jersey that says 27 Hannon on it. And then
No.
But no, it's a long, assorted history. Maybe I'll write about it on Pucknology.
Oh, there you go. Okay, great. Now I'm waiting for Eric to put up the more you know graphic.
All right. Let's see. Going through the questions here.
Here's a good one. Jakey, if the Sharks win the Cup, does Mike Brown get a ring?
No,
No.
he was traded.
Okay. I know, but it depends. Like Benji Molina, he got a ring with the 2010 San Francisco Giants,
Not-
even though he was
Hockey.
huh?
Said
Yeah,
not
I
hockey.
know.
Yeah, hockey
Okay.
is definitely a little different in the way that their
So-
rings get handed out.
Wait, what?
Okay.
Would Michael Haley get a ring if that's the case?
Yes.
Technically, he would.
Probably.
Now,
Yes.
Ian, refresh my memory as I go to the Canadian robot here. The requirements to get your name engraved on the cup: you have to play at least one cup final game, X amount of playoff games, and like 40 regular season games.
I don't know if there's like an actual requirement or if like the team basically has so many names that you're allowed to put on it, and they pick just like they pick who gets rings. You know what? I'm not 100% sure.
All right. Well, thank you.
Sorry.
If somebody
We
knows
go
that.
way inside the Sharks here on Pucknology After Dark.
So, jeez, Chester Tivo chiming in. I think J. Alexander 46 should have to get a Pickles tattoo if Vlasic nets the game-winning goal. Oh, Chivo, you just up the
He
ante,
should-
bud.
No, dude. I mean, you really want to take it far. He should have to get a tattoo of a pickle on his pickle.
Okay. All right. Here is the
All right, no way after dark there.
here's the name inscription rules. Currently, a player must have played at least half of the regular season games for the championship team, provided the player remains with the team when they win the cup, or played in at least one game of the Stanley Cup Finals. So it's either you played 41 games or you've played one game in the finals.
There you go.
Okay.
So, Mike Brown, you go.
However, since 1994, teams have been permitted to petition the NHL commissioner to be considered on a case-by-case basis. So,
No one's.
And, of course, that'll be for Drew Remenda.
Oh, jeez. And like Hockey Jerk just said, yeah. Games played, regular season campaign petition, yeah. That'll be an interesting one. Let's see, what else do we have? Someone's asking X factors from each of us for the Sharks. I'll go with AJ on this one first.
What was the question?
Who's your X factor? Like, which
Who's your
Sharks
X
player is your
factor?
X factor?
Oh boy, that is. Well, like I said, my kind of X factor for the Pens is if Murray gets hot. For the Sharks, boy, and without knowing if Marlowe, if they're gonna let him go, I'm just gonna say Burns. I think Burns. I think that the Penguins are probably going to try to stifle and contain Pavelski and Thornton and Hurdle because they've had so much success so far, and I think it's going to kind of like leave Burns on the outer part of it. It wouldn't surprise me to see Burns get goals in 3 consecutive games. So I'm going to say Burns.
Okay. Gentry?
My X factor, I think, is going to have to be Martin Jones. I feel like with the Penguins' offense and NBC's bias, he's going to have to stand on his head for a lot of this series because there's going to be a lot of calls in favor for Pittsburgh, and he's going to need to answer those on the penalty kill as well as when it's a 2-on-1 situation because they do have that speed, so you need to be able to prepare for that. So I think Martin Jones, and I think he could steal the series for the Sharks.
Okay, hold on, please, one moment. I've been told on the chat that Burns is too safe an answer. So apparently I can't use that as my X factor. Okay, well then, you know what my X factor is? The Penguins aren't going to be able to deal with 90-degree heat and over during the 2 games that they're here, and traveling here in the heat. That's my X factor.
the Pacific time zone's your X factor.
Yeah. So is that unsafe enough for you, Cody?
Well, I mean, you do make a point there. I think the last time Pittsburgh was outside their time zone, especially in the Pacific time zone,
It
was
was
like what?
January 18th.
January
January
18th.
18th.
So they've been within, Mountain, Central, and Eastern for almost 4.5 months. They haven't traveled that much. I mean, oh boy, you take a bus ride to frickin' New York, you take another bus ride to Washington, and then you fly to Tampa, which is what, maybe the equivalent of Portland, Oregon to San Diego. I mean, they've had less travel than the Sharks. The Sharks have now become accustomed to it. I mean, traveling could be an issue, especially in Game 3. I think you jump on them. But we'll see on that. Let's see. Did I get an X Factor from Ian?
No. My X Factor is, I got 2 X Factors, so I'm going to cheat. Chris Tierney and Nick
God
Spaulding are
damn
my
you!
X Factors.
You fucker! I knew it! I knew he was going to take my pick. Bastard.
Sorry. The bottom line, it's like they always says, bottom 6 gets you in, and the top 6 gets you in, bottom 6 gets you wins, and I feel like that's gonna be key. Is the Sharks having their bottom lines hold up against some tough assignments.
All right. Eric Landy.
Well, since Chris Tierney is not available now, I guess I'll take Nick Spaulding. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays against Matt Cullen. I think that Spaulding definitely has the speed over Cullen, but Cullen is very crafty. He's very crafty for his age. So I just wonder how that fourth line is going to match up against the Pittsburgh's fourth line. Yeah, that's my goal.
All right. Mine, not to be too, well, and maybe Cody will call me out, but my X Factor is the Sharks power play. They get that thing going, and boy howdy, this series changes big time. So, and I don't think I made my prediction Sharks in 6. So I'm right with you on that. So it's a clean sweep for all of us. We'll review our picks once this series is over. Our predictions. Any more questions as I looked on Twitter?
Oh, and then Cody James says Spaulding, too brave an answer.
Jeez. But you can't
All right,
win.
where the hell's Chris when you need him to throw down the 2-minute ban hammer?
All right. Well, let's go with final thoughts. I'll start with Landy.
Oh boy, final thoughts on this one. I mean, look, Sharks got to play their game. They've got to dictate the play. They cannot fall into the Penguins' speed game, which I don't think the Sharks can. I mean, the Sharks have played well against speedy teams. If we're looking at a Western Conference equivalent to the way Pittsburgh plays, Colorado, maybe Dallas are the two that come to mind with that speed game. And I think the Sharks can physically will their game on Pittsburgh. So the Sharks are moving their feet and don't get caught up with a lot of penalties. I think the Sharks can do this pretty quickly.
All right. Gentry?
Final thoughts. This is going to be the year in which everybody knows that this is a different Sharks team. That this is honestly, the path is right now laid out before them. They are 4 wins away from putting the doubters and the haters away. Yes, it's great that they put the Kings to rest, and it's great that they, were able to beat the Blues, but it would be a hell of a lot sweeter if at the end of that teal, brick road, if there was a Stanley Cup waiting for us there. And, I cannot wait to see, a true captain, which is Pavelski and not Dustin Brown, hoisted above their heads. So come on, Sharks, please do this.
We have jumbo hours to go, just for everybody who's keeping count of how many hours we got left.
Got it. Thank you. Ian Reed.
Yeah, I think the big key for me going into this series is I don't think that the Sharks. I mean, I totally agree with Landy. The Sharks could totally walk into Pittsburgh and take 2 games. I just think that they can't take any less than 1. Like you have to at least leave with a split. You cannot come back to the tank down 0-2 because then I think they're in a lot of trouble at that point. But aside from that, I think they're going to be fine.
AJ Strong.
Well, see, I just don't see them coming back down 0-2 because we've seen the way this team has been when they have lost a game. They come back with a big response the next time. So
I'm a Sharks fan. I take nothing for granted.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Just win the game.
Just win the game.
There's just see that's the whole thing. It's like we've talked about it before, but I just want to see the Sharks just win this, just to obviously to bring this home. But there's just so many people that have just crapped all over this team that it would just be nice for them to just for a moment have to eat a little humble pie. And they pull this off. It makes me want to get go on Zazzle or whatever and have a Eric can work up a shirt for me in Photoshop that says, "Hey Ratto, they just won the game. they just won the cup."
No, that'd be great.
All right. We need to make a pack. We need to make a pack that we all send Ratto a tweet once we win. We just won the cup.
I'd love to if he didn't have me blocked.
I would just say
I'm still wondering if we're all gonna honor our bet and say that if the Sharks win it, we're all gonna get Stanley Cup Sharks tattoos.
Hey, I'm ready to go, man.
I'm doing it.
Oh man.
And let's not forget, we also our good friend Randall Hahn said he will. I think he said he'll do the our tat along with a fan voted or generated tattoo, and
that's too brave for me, buddy.
And all I'm saying, Chewbacca's head on top of Slappy's body.
Here's I have it right here. This is Ian's tattoo right here.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's gonna go.
Yeah, there's Ian's tattoo.
Nice. All right. My final thought is this. We've waited 25 years to get here. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I mean, let's be real here. And I use the Capitals as an example. They got there in their 25th year, and they've been fighting ever since. Enjoy the moment, whether it's 4 or 7 games, and win
or lose. Win or lose.
Win or lose, it's going to be a fun ride. And if they win, I can't wait to tweet Tony Gallagher, Joe Pavelski holding the Stanley Cup.
Oh, dude, no, I want that, dude. I want the fan-voted tattoo for Hunter to be a tramp stamp. Oh.
I'm a weasel.
No. Of the what is it? The portrait size, the 25th logo that they did that has the old shark head and the new shark head on both sides of the diamond. The 25 in the middle. That should be Hunter's tramp stamp. That would be
nice.
That would be stellar.
Randall and Randy are probably going to kill us now because we're suggesting this for them.
No, well, yeah, that's true. I mean, if Hunter,
but I do like that idea. He probably actually go for it.
I think.
I think with Hunter, I think what he would probably do is, he'd come up with 3 to 5 ones that he'd be, up for, and then just put it to the fans for them to vote. Obviously, not fans like putting in ridiculously stupid submissions like the one I just did.
Mm-hmm.
But it would still be funny.
All right, with that, let's wrap it up. Make sure you hit Pucknology.net. We're gonna have a ton of coverage throughout the playoffs. We didn't even talk about how crazy the merchandise sales here in the Bay Area is right now. Make sure you
Oh, the
subscribe.
viewing party.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. One sec, Laney. I know where you're getting at. The viewing party. Reminder, there are still some tickets available for the Coolest Game viewing party at the Tank tomorrow. Of course, the game is going to be at 5 o'clock. Tickets are $5. They're not free this time. They're $5. It does benefit the Sharks Foundation. So make sure you go to sjsharks.com/coolest-game. If you've never been to a Coolest Game viewing party, it's basically a scaled-down version of a Sharks game. You'll be watching it on the Jumbotron, and I believe we've heard that the first 8,000 people
Yes.
get rally towels. So,
Yes, and the rally towel this time is basically the sign that says this is Sharks territory.
which is great because they have no more at the Sharks store. um, and for that matter, there will be a tweet up outside the Sharks Foundation kiosk at the first intermission of Game 1 at the viewing party. So,
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
I had no idea. Okay.
You do now. I may
I'll
not
be
be
there.
there. I may not be there, but why not unite in teal? I mean, for the part 3 of the biggest game in Sharks franchise history, why not? Anyways, hit Pucknology.net. Make sure you subscribe down below. Down there, I believe we'll be having pre-gaming with Pucknology tomorrow afternoon. We will definitely have Pucknology After Dark after Game 1 with several of our constituents. We may have a special day off show with somebody. What we can't confirm that just yet. Might be during the day, might be during the afternoon. And not yet, Ian.
Okay.
And
just ask.
no, you're good. And until tomorrow, I don't know how we're all gonna sleep, but keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh, and let's jump to the cup. Good night, everyone.